Ooh, stop the rain. Hey everyone, how you doing? It's Thursday and a good day to you. Hope you're doing well and hope life is finding you ecstatic. How's that? I like that. That's so cool. Hey Al, how you doing? I just want to say hello to everybody out there. Welcome. Hey Franny, how you doing? Welcome back. Robin, good to see you. Hello, Lois, Warrior Queen. EO, how are you, my friend? Good to see you. I saw that David said he was having dinner with his mother, which is always a good thing. I like that, you know? Tab, good to see you. Blanca, good to see you as well. Boy, just lots of people here. 55. That was a good number, by the way, as I saw that. So let me just invoke favor on everybody. Listen, favor of the most favorable kind. I speak over your life today. And may the flow of abundance of health, mind, spirit, of all kinds, make its abode within you, and may there be full, complete restoration, nothing missing, nothing broken. You know, it works. Hey, while we're at it, let's just get this right off because we got a lot to cover. I think you're going to find this whole hour is going to be fun. Real quick, let's get our affirmations done. Peter, just far out, dude. You know, I wrote you and, thanking you for everybody. A lot of people have gotten this, sent me emails. All right, so we've condensed this down. Peter did. I didn't. Very quickly, I'm therefore acknowledging from this day forward, God, our divine creator, as my only source of my needs, my supply, meeting all of my physical and spiritual needs. I only need to be conscious and aware of that fact. Thus, and it's very easy, I'll tell you this, I went to sleep almost quoting this. One, God is lavish and limitless within me. Well, I mean, isn't that the truth? And then the following, you just say, the spirit within is the source of all my needs, flows with abundance, is my supply, is unlimited and eternal, meets all of my needs, restores me, is part of the infinite source, praises God, the infinite source that lives within me. And I acknowledge God, the divine and infinite source of all residing within me, as the only true source of my prosperity. Prosperity means, listen, I learned decades ago, prosperity means health. And the reason why is, you think about this. Little lesson. All right, so everyone get out your notepad here. When you think about prosperity as being of health, think about what health brings. Health brings about, number one, a sense of well-being. Two, a healthy, well-balanced mind. It means as well as a balanced spirit. So when I think of prosperity, I think of health. And if you have your health, then you know what, and everything else is prospering, where your body, mind, soul is concerned, you'll never have to worry about financial wealth. It will naturally occur. So that is the true source of all of our prosperities. It's restoration, care, intervention, and total fulfillment of the spirit within the physical and the mental bodies. Blessed be the Creator for all of his mercy. And by the way, you should be saying this as well, because we're going to get into sigils. We're going to find out how vitally important thought, intent, and particularly the power of what this amazing thing, the tongue, the mouth, the lips, all of it, how it's magic. All right. You start believing this, and I'm speaking to someone specifically, things will begin to change overnight. in that special hour at 3 a.m. when the portals are open between our two realms. It's not midnight, it's 3 a.m. Anyway, every word that goes forth out of my mouth, it shall not return to me void without producing any effect, but it shall accomplish that which I please, I purpose, and it shall prosper in the thing for which I sent it forth. Uh, Again, should be on the top of your agenda. Anyway, how is everyone? Lady Gray Revan, how are you? Barry, good to see you. Monday Moon, good to see you. And David Castle, hello. Limitless Love, hello to you. Malchus, good to see you. Man, lots of people. Horse, good to see you as well. Landon, good to see you. Merritt, hello. There he is. Speaking of Milky Way Weekly, Brian will be on tomorrow. Haven't had Brian on in a while. He hasn't been on, and we're going to talk on the solar flash. I did a video called Planet Amnesia. Something happened. It wasn't all that long ago. And we're going to talk about that. So, Brian, looking forward to seeing you. One, good to see you. Girl with no name, Spooner. Hello. Truth in Me, good to see you. Anyway, Brian, Lunsford mom has crossed over. She is continuing her journey back to her tribe. And I want to get Brian on. He's gone through the best thing I know is a transformation, seeing things into the next realm. Men in Black happen. Yes, isn't that too? Hey, 7P, how you doing? So anyway, tonight on the Steiger Perspective over on artistfirst.com, going to have fun on this one. Actually, the title of the show is Yet It Continues. Now, you can put that in the front of a sentence and the back of one. And determining what the middle is, the impact is impacting both ways. It's kind of interesting. So that's on at 10 p.m. Eastern, 8 Mountain. So I did a little experiment on how we're going to learn to do sigils. And this is powerful stuff. As I said on the opening comments in the chat room, look all around you. Every religion has a sigil. Why? Every nation has a sigil. Why? Every company has a sigil. Why? Every secret society has sigils. Why? I'll tell you why. Hello, Karen. How are you doing? And Cheesesteak, good to see you, dear. Excuse me, dear. Peace. There's a reason. And so I'm going to kind of jump ahead so all of you can see what I'm talking about. So here is how you create a sigil. So bear with me because this is going to help as we get into the other part of this. So let's say you have a phrase. Now, I say all the time, I have favor over my life. I have favor in all things. And that is kind of like, it's more than a mantra to me. It's just how I see things. Now, how you go about this is this. You go through that phrase and you begin to take out all the letters, consonant vowels, that are repeated. And what you're left with is, and you can see here how I did this. So you take all of this out And what you're left with is, again, ORWGS. That's the essence, in other words, the power of that phrase that I speak over my life all the time. Now, what you do with that is that you would then take that, and from there, you would make a sigil. This is the one that I did here. By the way, anyone that works in copper, I'd love to probably see some ideas on this. So that is a sigil. Now, we're going to go through how to empower the sigil, how these sigils work. They literally open portals. It's the only way I know how to say it. They open portals. They're all designed to do basically two things, three actually. Number one, power. Two, wealth, money. Always attached to these. This is why you see every corporation, we call them logos. The logos, you know, the illumination, the logos of the word. It's power. We speak spells all the time. And if you look at the cars, they have specific emblems. Those are sigils. Emblems are nothing more than sigils. So I did one on my name, and it's really interesting because I could say that with my full name, it would be Ob Wa Sig. And you could almost say, in essence, to get that down into a sigil would be my protective shield. It's my sigil. It's the essence of what I am in this realm of my name. You have the same thing. So keeping that in mind, pretty cool stuff though, isn't it? And we'll say, sure, let's just do that. So try that for yourself. I think you're going to find out that it's powerful stuff. As Robert Palmer used to say, that that's powerful stuff. So, hey, Flight Risk, how you doing? I just saw that. So you can see now by taking the essence of your name, and let me tell you something, I'll pass this on. No one can take possession of it again. Once you actually put it down into a sigil, and you empower it, we're going to find out how to do that. Yeah, this stuff really works. All right, so let's talk about portals real quick. It comes in really working on our brains. Our brains are remarkable devices. It's really about the simplest way I can say it. And it's mind, it's thought. And the question we have to ask ourselves, well, what is my mind? I find myself today, I was in a I was in a place, I was in a room. And once you make contact with your spirit guide and you open yourself up to acknowledging your spirit guide and then beginning to understand how your spirit guide has been with you all along, it's quite remarkable. So consider the following. Your mind reads the impressions that are made in and on the substance of the brain called convulsions. But at the same time, it's insensible to the existence of the convulsions themselves. We know that the substance of the brain, but we know nothing of what mind is. I mean, that's the whole problem with psychology. There's no standard. Well, because we can't define the mind. The mind cannot bring to the senses the configuration or nature of the substance in which the mind exists. It's own house is unknown. I had this far out revelation about the mind. When you really begin to do mirror gazing and begin to do those exercises, you begin to find out what mind is. And it gives you cognitive recognition of the ability of how you coexist in multiple dimensions. Well, think about it. All of this exists in 4 dimensions here. The mind, I dare say, may be the 5th, maybe the greatest. I don't know. So this is what reality is for us. It's what we see. What you see has determined your reality. But the problem is, and the interesting thing, the way we're designed is how we see things. We see things in stereoscope. Now you can close one eye, you can open up the other eye, and then you open both, and you get and understand what stereoscoping is. In many ways, this is the same limitation we have in understanding our minds. This is the consequence that we are trained that physical existence has always depended on the study of external surroundings, thus why the development of internal sight lies undeveloped within humanity. You know, they say all the time, it's an inside job, enlightened comes within first. And still remarkable to me to see how many are still so limited. It can be a very scary place at first, very unfamiliar, because the thing that you mostly see initially is this darkness. You have to get through that. Because man is external minded, he has become inept in knowing what the mind is capable of. It is a lost understanding. Most places are vacant. Our senses are abstract, not descriptive. Normal organs have no sensible existence. It is only when an abnormal condition surfaces of an organ when it creates the sensation of pain or pleasure. However, it discloses nothing concerning the appearance or construction of the affected organ. When you have a stomach ache, how many of you actually see your stomach? You can see it in, the point of the gastric gases, the vial flowing, from, the gallbladder to the pancreas all the way around. No, we don't see that. We don't see our brains. You can. I can teach you how to see your brain. Every one of you can do it. It's quite remarkable. Your brain never throbs or aches. That's why they can operate on people. Once they get the local anesthesia of anesthetizing the topographical skin and scalp and bone of the cranium, your brain can be operated while you're fully awake. They've done it. In fact, they've shown many patients playing guitars, working on their computer, etc. The arm presents no evidence to the mind concerning its shape, color, or size. When you think about moving your hand, you just, you're not thinking about, the wrist is connected, no. You cannot count your fingers unless some outside object touches them, or they press against each other, or you perceive them by sight. I ain't kidding, man. The brain of man, the seat of knowledge, in which the mind center is not perceptible through the senses. Now, this is what everything that we have is based in our reality. It's just the way it is. So now let's talk about, we talked about last week By the way, do you know a good exercise how you can begin to open yourself up to hearing your spirit guide? How many of you draw? I do. I love doing mandalas. And here's just some example of my work. So this causes me to get into a place where, well, it's quite amazing what happens when you start to actually, here's some more. I'll just show you. I do this a lot because well, it relaxes my mind. I say my mind, it allows, here's another one. So it also, as I've been told, expresses the depthness of your soul. So I would recommend it. It's very cool. This is the one I'm currently working on. And it's good exercise. Because I contend if portals can be opened and intelligences can pass through, well, if I have a better understanding of myself, what my mind is, maybe my soul, and have the ability to telepathically, I mean, I prayed for decades. Spoken tongues, interpreted, laid hands on people, saw the sick get healed. I mean, just, words of knowledge. I could see people's future when I touched their hands and, that kind of stuff. And that was when I was in my religion. So, when I walked away from my religion, then what does that leave me? Well, I can still speak in tongues. I can still lay hands on people and see them get well. I can still at times see people and you can get images of, some of the things that potentially is possible. But anyway, I digress. So think about how you can train yourself and get yourself into a state of mind, a state of consciousness. I talked to you before about what they did in 2013 when they actually made the first true breakthrough of the D-Wave computer. Talked about this before. By the way, in June last year, coming up the 1-year anniversary, a team of AI algorithms just crushed humans in a complex computer game. It beat us is what it did. And excuse me one second, folks. All right. And, anyway, we talked about this before, but again, some people don't understand the math. They don't understand what quantum is. You and I are walking quantums, if you think about it. Again, as I said, place yourself in the universe and you find out that you are probably smaller than an atom, definitely down into the subatomic, down to the neutrino level. But here was the thing. Let's talk about what quantum computation does. Again, it would be the first technology that allows useful tasks to be performed in collaboration between parallel universes. Parallel universes. Let's just stop and think about the implication of this. If this was already in the mind of man, and this was the intent from the beginning, we have gone beyond something that is of the cognitive rational ability of our brains seeing the physical world, now understanding that at the quantum level, parallels can and in fact are breached and material is brought back. Their CEO, Gordy Rose, said it was like being at the altar of an alien god. Let me go on and say what Lisa Randall said. The universe has its secrets. Extra dimensions of space might be one of them. If so, the universe has been hiding those dimensions, protecting them, keeping them coyly under wraps. From a casual glance, you would never suspect a thing. And that's exactly what has happened. We got out there in a place that, well, I think it was a causality effect. I really do believe this. Um, I mean, who the hell could have ever thought about, well, how would you define substance from a different dimension? That's what they did. Apparently, that's what they're still doing. I can only imagine where this has gone, but gone it has. Would you say that this is magic? I would. By all the definitions, this is magic. It's magic of a level and a hierarchy that, well, I hope that these cats are smart enough to figure out that, if you start messing with stuff, would that have an effect on time, perception of time, history, events? If you can do this, by the way, by frequency, what have you, it makes you think sometimes what microwave ovens can do. Just saying. So CERN is another one. So it's evidence that there is something's opened. Portals. I contend secret societies, the magi, the wizards, the wise ones of the past, they knew. We studied Hal's book. We'll be going back on that one again, but we learned how you can take it. Now, this is where sigils come in, because sigils, as it's turning out, are actually it has its own ability of drawing spirits, forces that will favor you, that'll make you rich, that'll bring you good fortune. That's why they do it. Think about it. You've got a car manufacturer, Intel, Windows, Facebook, Google. All of them have sigils. Powerful, powerful stuff. All right, so I got one other to carry here to get into, and this I think will bring us where today we're going to have fun. So, how many of you have ever studied angelic script? I'll tell you a story. I used to be a spelunker. I loved spelunking. To me, it was just something, it immersed myself at a young age into a whole different world. Um, Now, what is spelunking? Cave exploring. We were exploring some caves in Kentucky, east of Bowling Green, and it was a far distance out, 45 minutes an hour. Anyway, there is, in the natural topography of that whole area, is you have the river valleys that come in, and then you have these limestone cliffs, formations. You have a lot of hollows. Anyway, we found a cave in there, and we were really back in the day. I mean, once you started learning how to look for caves, you could. There's a lot of them. Found Civil War memorabilia. Anyway, we found in one cave in Kentucky there was a strange script that had been put onto the walls, and it was pretty far into the cave. You probably had very difficulty if you didn't have fire or light of some sort to have seen that. But when you begin to understand, each one of these is a letter, is a sigil. It is said that Moshe, Tutmos, Moses, which Moses translates to Moshe, which translates to magician, was able to take of a long lost language, alphabet, was able to take certain symbols of this lost language, and by arranging them in a certain pattern, it would open up a portal. It is said that the Holy of Holies, the very temple, the first temple, was actually seen from this portal. It actually saw into this other dimension. So when you look at angelic script, and there's a lot on this, we'll get into this more. It's quite fascinating to begin to find out, are you drawn to certain sigils within the script? We can, once you learn how to produce sigils in your life, you can find a sigil for all the bad things. And I'll show you how we're going to learn how you can put them away. I talked about religions. They all have them. All of them. Islam, Hindu, no, they all have sigils. Why? And you see people wear them around their neck. Some have them on tattoos. I don't think they truly get it. Don't know. When you begin to add a sigil from a saying, then you can do it like abracadabra. Now, that is actually a real magic word. I still like the way Steve Miller did it. Abracadabra, gonna reach out and grab you. Anyway, hey, that's so true. This is what you can begin to do. Now, the early Kabbalists, they understood this. I think the early Gnostics knew it as well. And many today, Wicca is one, but there's many others who know the power of sigils. And what it is that once you get the sigil made, it is going to be implanted into the subconscious mind. You'd be surprised how desire, once trained and focused, can manifest. When you look at how sigils have played a major role in spell casting, binding, loosing, it's because what does a sigil do? A sigil will represent a whole paragraph in words condensed down to a few simple sigils. Here is one that's what they call is the sigil alphabet. I actually have a book that I am working on. And in this book, it teaches you, let me give you, to actually, where you have daily lessons where you can actually begin to practice speaking the spell, speaking the words over your creation. Again, they even have one, a sigil for alien abductions, those who have been abducted. And look how it's used for empowering. Charge the sigil in rituals, expose social media to the sigil in memes, videos, and images, further empowering it through the curiosity and stirred emotions of the viewers. Think about it, folks. What does this one speak to you? Stare at that one for about 30 seconds, please. Just focus in the very center of what you would perceive the center. And as you're staring, begin to imagine, what is this representing to you? Let your mind speak to you. As you begin to blink your eyes, you're going to begin to see what you should begin to see, a blue impression beginning to form within what we would call your third eye. Now look away, close your eyes, and let it begin. Just focus in on it. If you need to open your eyes again, I can see it now very clearly. It should be, to everyone, you should be seeing it by now as either a faint white, it should be getting brighter for those of you who are much more trained in it. Even as I speak to you, I can still see. And what I end up with is the primary cardinal points with a continuum running around them. That's sigil magic. Now, what is a sigil? An encapsulation of intent or desire, a pictographic representation of the intent or desire, a type of practical enchantment. Belief is both agnostic magic. Now, I just showed you a very simple spell. I didn't cast anything on you. It was a teaching lesson for you to begin to understand how powerful these sigils are all around us. You don't think that Nike spends billions of dollars on simply the fact that, their sigil means nothing? No, you see the swoosh and you think Nike. It's how it is. This is the ancient language of the elves, of Finn. If you've ever been over in Ireland, as I have been told, Scotland, my heritage, England, and even here in America, you will find pictographs, hieroglyphs, etc., but they're really sigils. They mean something. They communicate volumes in the fourth state of energy, which is conservation. But it allows you to speak. Here's one. And you can see how it was done. I learned to love myself. And you can begin to see how the sigil came about. You can see the condensation of the essence of the intent of the phrase. Now, this has been done in religious ceremonies, go back thousands and thousands and thousands of years. It's when you could bring tribes of multiple cultures together. And although there would not be necessarily a commonality of a spoken language, a sigil would speak to all represented at the gathering. Now you understand how Kabbalism, any, you understand Lilith now a little bit more, don't you? These symbols, powerful, powerful, powerful. Why? Well, because of number one, the name. Now, all of these are archangels, but you can see now and allow the psychic impression of the sigil communicate to your mind, and you can begin to see why sigils are so important. So here's how to make a sigil that you care about. What is it that you desire, you really want? What is the single thing? Could you write it down right now? If you can't, then you need to go back and do some more Franz's exercise. I haven't forgotten about it. We're allowing the 2 weeks to pass, but that's why you need to do those exercises. All right, so write down your intent or desire. Use all caps. Cross out all the vowels, cross out all the repeated letters. Draw a picture using the remaining letters. Redraw the picture again. Keep going until it looks right, spooky, magical. You'll feel the power. You'll feel the energy. It'll start literally taking on a harmonic, a vibration of its own. Best practices. Use positive words instead of negative words. I can't stress this enough. Make specific your goals. Don't be ambiguous, rambling. Be as concise and as limited as you can. Use present tense statements. Describe completed goals. That's what I told you before when I taught sales. All I was doing was teaching magic. I was teaching them how to cast spells. Most of the time when you bought something, you're buying something because you have been enchanted. Your desire has overruled your normal defenses. I can mirror you. I can begin to use certain hand signals that you are not even aware of, but by the simple touch in a conversation, I'll have you buying what I'm selling. All right. For instance, I have $100 instead of I want more money. You see, you can say, I want money. Well, fine. Everybody wants money. That's why it doesn't work. You got the random effect, but that's all it is. In order for magic and even prayer, listen, if you're praying to someone telepathically out there. So you are using telekinesis and hoping that you're going to connect to something that can aid you in what your request is. Again, when you look at angelic script, you can begin to understand why it becomes so important. Once you understand how script works and you begin to understand it as well, you'll be amazing how quickly you begin to adapt to other types of Sanskrit script. So I hope that helped a little bit in showing you how this works. It's powerful stuff. It truly is. Now, I've got a book on my Kindle. I wish I had the PDF. I don't. Someone may be able to find it. That will help us in developing our own sigils. And if you're talented in this area, let me know. And I think we can bring you a lot of business. All right. So let me get to my Kindle real quick here. All right. So this is from the book Sigil Magic Spellcasting. And let me just go ahead and just get right into it because this is some cool stuff. This is the introduction. Sigil means seal in Latin. So that's why it's so important. We're making a seal. You have crescent family seals. I mean, seals of all kinds. You have them in the courts, sealed indictments. It goes on and on. It is also translated sign or character. In ancient sorcery, sigils were used to summon spirits or harness and dispense magical power. A book of magic was called a Gilmore, for it gave the grammar necessary to summon spirits. Sigils were the visual form of a verbal congregation, a prayer given in order to summon spirits. Listen, I know how this works, folks, often including ancient words of power. When I was in the charismatic movement, that's what we were doing. We were summoning spirits, invoking them, using words, having someone, and they're in another language, invoking what we thought was the coming down of the power of God through the Holy Spirit. Any way you want to slice it and dice it, pack it and put it, it's conjuring. Sigils. The dove, a sigil. These words were known as the barbarous words or names, as they were in a holy languages or unknown tongues. Taken together, sigils and congregations form the basis of the magic of the learned in Western tradition. There is another use for the sigil, a use which, through historical lesser known, has come to form the main form of spell casting as practiced by modern chaos sigil. Excuse me. I don't know why I didn't want to move there. There we go. Magic. This method is as old as Henrik Agrippa. We're reading his book. You see how it all ties in? But was popularized by Austin Osman Spare in his seminal work, The Book of Pleasure. This form of sigil magic involves the creation of a new sigil by the sorcerer alongside with special mental exercises. Once successfully performed, it is believed to cause desired changes in the world, acting as a means of casting spells. There are the two primary forms of sigil magic. The first I will call summoning sigils, and the second I will call sigil spells. In this book, I describe the latter in enough detail for any beginner to begin. I also describe some additional methods to increase and expand the effectiveness of sigil spells. It will be of interest to both beginners and intermediate alike. Sigil magic is real. With practice, you will prove this to yourself. Like all magic, it does not always work, but with practice, it will become a powerful tool. As with all magic, success grows with frequency. The more you practice, the more intensely you practice, the more powerful your results will be. Practice the instructions of this book as written, and you will soon find success. We're going to get into the tidbit here. Basic instructions. Formulate a desire for something possible. Now, this is critical. If you have never had $1 million, it is going to be almost virtually impossible for you to ever manifest $1 million into your life unless you played the lottery and you got lucky. You have to begin to build upon that which you know, that which your mind will agree with. If you go beyond your rational limits of self-belief, your mind is going to say, no freaking way, sister, that ain't going to happen. And you walk away frustrated and say it doesn't work. No. Start small. It's the only thing I can tell you. Like Nancy Edison's in her book, Baby Steps, First Steps. Start with something that you can reasonably feel confident that you can believe in. The more likely it is to happen without magic, the more likely it is to happen with magic. As a beginner, let the desire be practical and simple. Greater things can be attempted later. Structure the desire into a sentence. Make the sentence emphatic. Say, I will rather than I want. Have faith the spell will be successful. That's vitally important here, because in the beginning, you're going to find out all of us are schizophrenic. You're going to be real surprised that that son of a BOS, whatever you want to title it, how it will come up and start talking to you and start saying, you really don't believe this stuff. This is nonsense. You need to go back to, it just starts, yeah. You're going to have to tame that one. All right, write it down, remove all repeating letters, like I showed you, then overlay the remaining letters into an abstract design, like I did. It's quite fascinating. By the way, if someone can do that for me, let me know. For example, the sentence, I will make art, becomes, I will mark or mark it. And this becomes the symbol, as you can see. So it's, I will make art becomes IWLMAKRT. And look at that. I hope all of you practice this. I really do. Draw the abstract design on paper. You can revise it multiple times if you like. Once finished, charge the sigil. This is very important. The two most popular ways to do this are through pain and pleasure. If you wish to use pain, in which I would recommend, and there's a reason for it, look at the sigil while straining your muscles. Holding a heavy weight is an excellent. Get maybe something that you can hold in your hands and let it fall to your hands. Or if you want to do the way that in the military taught us, hold it out in front of you. That becomes, yeah. All right, continue. Holding in a heavy weight is an excellent undamaging way. Focus on the sigil as the tension and pain increases little by little. Then, when the pain is unbearable, close your eyes and visualize the sigil in the black void of your mind. Its outline a burning white flame. Let the pain continue. You see how I taught you earlier? This is how it's done. When you can truly no longer stand it, release the weight. If you held it long enough, your mind will be flooded by relief, shrinking the sigil into your consciousness. Then burn or otherwise destroy the sigil. If you wish to use pleasure, look at the sigil while sexually stimulating yourself. Other visual stimuli can also be used, but the sigil should be present. A prolonged period of stimulation is recommended. The orgasm should also be as intense as possible. At the moment of orgasm, visualize the sigil in the black void of your mind. Its outline a burning white flame. Excuse me. The two methods can be used for casting sigil spells of any purpose. Nevertheless, pain is best for destructive sigils, pleasure for constructive sigils. Excuse me. In the way, I did it again. I've got to stop drinking tea while I'm reading this. Is charged and sunk resonance with the energy. Positive, negative. Excuse me. I can't believe I did that again. No more tea. That was crazy. All right. So when you're done, burn it or tear it apart. There you go. Now, all you have to do is forget about it. That's going to be hard, trust me. But it gets easier over time. Just don't think about the sigil itself, and do not think about what it intends. If you find yourself thinking about it, distract yourself with something else. Performing many sigil spells help. The more sigil spells you perform, the less each you will recall in your mind. A sigil needs to be completely forgotten to work. However, it can sometimes work while still existing in memory nonetheless. Wow, maybe someone, that's just nuts. All right. Once it's existing in your memory, don't remember it. The reason for this is that it's how the sigil spell works. And to understand that, some aspects of sigil theory must be understood. All right, there you go. All right, so there we go. I hope you found that little tidbit informative. It's amazing as I went around my house and I began to see all of this. Sigils everywhere. Sigils that I didn't even care. Sigils were everywhere. Dare I say that I'm going, well, we live in a magical world. It's crazy. And yet we will, how shall we say, villainize the person that proclaims magic is good. It's like saying, you're in a chocolate store, but anyone who likes chocolate is whatever. No. Sigil magic, folks. I'm going to get more into it. I think that here I am. I look at this point in my life and I'm going, now, wait a minute. I've been immersed in this all my life, but I looked at it from a totally different lens. It was nuts because I wasted all that time. All that time. Not going to waste it anymore. Listen, I don't know about you, but when I like blessing people. I really do. I like giving. And boy, if there's any way that you could say to a person, would you like to change your circumstances? Would you like to begin to see that favorable things come your way? Would you like to be in the circumstance where it always goes your way? Thank you, Flight Risk. I like to hear your story. We'll put it on here. Invite you on. So, folks, let's get together. Let's do this. Come on. I'm giving us the instructions. I've never seen anyone give, step-by-step instructions. How does this work? Well, now that I know it, I'm walking around going, Steiger, it wasn't that difficult to begin with. But no, I had to keep a closed mind. Why? Because I had the truth. I knew the truth, and no one else was going to tell me any different. Yeah. I mean, seriously. I never realized it. All right, true story as we close out here. I'm 15 years old. And I live in this place in Houston. This is back in 1970 in the Montrose area. Back then it was called Family Connection. Anyway, so the peace sign everywhere we went. And, we had the medallions. In fact, I got one around here somewhere. Who knew? It was a sigil. And we all adapted to it. What? Because the intent when we saw either the peace sign or what they called the broken cross, was that to us, it represented peace, love your neighbor, no war. And that was the primary intent. And it moved a whole generation. I think we can do it again. All right. I'll see you tomorrow here with Brian with Milky Way Weekly. I'll be on tonight and we'll cover. Sorry for the coffee. And I'm not going to drink any more tea. I mean, that's twice I have done that. When you're suffering from allergies and you have this postnasal drip anyway, and you drink and then all of a sudden you aspirate it, that sucks. So you won't be doing that. All right, folks, be good. Love yourselves. Thank you for being here. I love you. I appreciate you. I say that in the sense that, love, man, it's not the other way around. Although, when I was looking at Al's book again, and I'm looking at all these symbols and I'm going, holy crap, now wait a minute. It's like, well, that's not what the ticket said. Anyway, folks, be good to yourselves. Love yourselves. I'll see you later. If you join me tonight, if not, we'll have a good time tomorrow. All right. Thanks for watching. All right. Bye-bye.